Hi, hello, how are you? Here we are, another one of our read-along sessions. So grab your copy of The Wind and the Willows by Kenneth Grahame and we'll get to work. I am reading from the Wordsworth edition, and tonight I'm starting on page 81, which is about exactly halfway through chapter 4 are we on? I can't even remember. Yeah, we're halfway through chapter 4. So get your copy and I'll meet you back here in about 10 seconds. If you remember, we just left, Badger was going to be busy, wasn't he? Asleep. And that's where we left it. Here we go. The front doorbell clanged loudly, and the rat, who was very greasy with buttered toast, sent Billy, the smaller hedgehog, to see who it might be. There was a sound of much stamping in the hall, and presently Billy returned in front of the otter, who threw himself on the rat with an embrace and a shout of affectionate greeting. "Get off!" spluttered the rat with his mouth full. "I thought I should find you all here all right," said the otter cheerfully. "They were all in a great state of alarm along river bank when I arrived this morning. Rat never been home all night, nor Mole either. Something dreadful must have happened, they said, and the snow had covered up all of your tracks, of course, but I knew that when Badger were in any fix, they mostly went to When people were in any fix, they mostly went to Badger, or else Badger got to know of it somehow, so I came straight off here through the wildwood and the snow. Oh my, it was fine coming through the snow as the red sun was rising and showing against the black tree trunks. As he went along in the stillness, every now and then masses of snow slid off the branches suddenly with a flop, making you jump and run for cover. Snow castles and snow caverns had sprung up out of nowhere in the night, and snow bridges, terraces, ramparts. I could have stayed and played with them for hours. Here and there great branches had been torn away by the sheer weight of the snow, and robins, they perched and hopped on them in their perky, conceited way, just as if they had done it themselves. A ragged string of wild geese passed overhead high in the sky, and a few rooks whirled over the trees, inspected and flapped off homeward with a disgusted expression. But I met no sensible being to ask the news of. About halfway across I came out on a rabbit sitting on a stump, cleaning his silly face with his paws. He was a pretty scared animal when I crept up behind him and placed a heavy forepaw on his shoulder. I had to cover his head once or twice to get any sense out of it at all. At last I managed to extract from him that Mole had been seen in the wildwood last night by one of them. It was talk of the burrows, he said, how Mole, Mr. Rat's particular friend, was in a bad fix, how he'd lost his way, and they were up and out hunting and were chivying him round and round. "Then why didn't you do something?" I asked. "You mayn't be blessed with brains, but there are hundreds and hundreds of you big stout fellows, as fat as butter, and your burrows running in all directions, and you could have taken him in and made him feel safe and comfortable, or tried to at all events." "What, us?" he merely said. "Do something, us, rabbit." So I cuffed him again, and I left him. There was nothing else to be done at any rate, and I had learned of something, and if I had had the luck to meet any of them, I'd have learnt something more, or they would. "Weren't you, nervous?" asked the mole, some of yesterday's terror coming back to him at the mention of the wildwood. "Nervous?" The otter showed a gleaming set of strong white teeth as he laughed. "I'd give 'em nerves if any of 'em tried anything on with me. Here, Mole, fry me some slices of ham like the good little chap you are. I'm frightfully hungry, and I've got any amount to say to Ratty here. Haven't seen him for an age." So the good-natured mole, having cut some slices of ham, set the hedgehogs to fry it and returned to his own breakfast, while the otter and the rat, their heads together, eagerly talked river shop, which is a long shop, and talk that is endless, running on like the babbling river itself. A plate of fried ham had just been cleared and sent back for more when the badger entered, yawning and rubbing his eyes, and greeted them all in his quiet, simple way, with kind inquiries for everyone. "It must be getting on for luncheon time," he remarked to the otter. "Better stop and have it with us. You must be hungry this cold morning." "Rather," replied the otter, winking at the mole. "The sight of these greedy young hedgehogs stuffing themselves with fried ham makes me feel positively famished." The hedgehogs, who were just beginning to feel hungry again after their porridge and after working so hard at the frying, looked timidly up at Mr. Badger, but were too shy to say anything. "Here, you two youngsters best be off home to your mother," said the badger kindly. "I'll send someone with you to show you the way. You won't want any dinner today, I'll be bound." He gave them 6pence apiece and a pat on the head, and they went off with much respectful swinging of caps and touching of forelocks. Presently they all sat down to luncheon together. The mole found himself placed next to Mr. Badger, and as the other two were still deep in river gossip from which nothing could divert them, he took the opportunity to tell Badger how comfortable and homelike it all felt to him. "Once well underground," he said, "you know exactly where you are. Nothing can happen to you and nothing can get at you. You're entirely your own master, and you don't have to consult anybody or mind what they say. Things go on all the same overhead and you let 'em, and you don't bother about 'em. When you want to, up you go, and there the things are waiting for you." The Badger simply beamed at him. "That's exactly what I say," he replied. "There's no security or peace or tranquility except underground. And then, if your ideas get larger and you want to expand, why, a dig and a scrape and there you are. If you feel your house is a bit too big, you stop up a hole or two and there you are again. No builders, no tradesmen, no remarks passed on you by fellows looking over your wall, and above all, no weather. Look at Rat now. Couple of feet of floodwater and he's got to move into hired lodgings. Uncomfortable, inconveniently situated, and horribly expensive. Take Toad. I say nothing against Toad Hall, quite the best house in these parts, as a house, but supposing a fire breaks out, where's Toad? Supposing tiles are blown off, or walls sink or crack, or windows get broken, where's Toad? Supposing the rooms are draughty, I hate a draught myself, where's Toad? No. Up and out of doors is good enough to roam about and get one's living in, but underground to come to at last, that's my idea of a home." The mole assented heartily, and the Badger in consequence got very friendly with him. When lunch is over," he said, "I'll take you all round this little place of mine. I can see you will appreciate it. You understand what domestic architecture ought to be, you do." After luncheon, accordingly, when the other two had settled themselves into the chimney corner and had started a heated argument on the subject of eels, the Badger lighted a lantern and bade the mole follow him. Crossing the hall, they passed down one of the principal tunnels, and the wavering light of the lantern gave glimpses on either side of rooms both large and small, some mere cupboards, others nearly as broad and imposing as Toad's dining hall. A narrow passage at right angles led them into another corridor, and here the same thing as was repeated. The mole was staggered at the size, the extent, the ramifications of it all, at the length of the dim passages, the solid vaultings of the crammed store chambers, the masonry everywhere, the pillars, the arches, the pavements. "How on earth, Badger," he said at last, "did you ever find time and strength to do all this? It's astonishing."
"It would be astonishing indeed," said the Badger simply, "if I had done it. But as a matter of fact, I did none of it, only cleaned out the passages and chambers as far as I had need of them. There's lots more of it all round about. You see, you don't understand, and I must explain it to you. Well, a very long time ago, on the spot where the wild wood waves now, before ever it had planted itself and grown up to what it is now, there was a city. A city of people, you know. Here, where we are standing, they lived, walked, talked, and slept, and carried on their business. Here they stabled their horses and feasted. From here they rode out to fight or drove out to trade. They are a wonderful people, powerful, rich, great builders. They built to last, for they thought their city would last forever."
"But what has become of them all?" asked the mole.
"Who can tell?" said the Badger. "People come, they stay for a while, they flourish, they build, and then they go. It is their way. But we remain. There were Badgers here, I've been told, long before that same city ever came to be. Now there are Badgers here again. We are an enduring lot, and we may move out for a time, but we wait, and we are patient, and back we come, and so it will ever be."
"Well, and when they went at last, those people?" said the mole.
"When they went," continued the Badger, "the strong winds and persistent rains took the matter in hand, patiently, ceaselessly, year after year. Perhaps we Badgers too, in our small way, helped a little. Who knows? It was all down, down, down gradually, ruin and levelling and disappearance. Then it was all up, up, up gradually, as seeds grew to saplings, and saplings to forest trees, and bramble and fern came creeping in to help. Leaf mould rose and obliterated. Streams in their winter freshets brought sand and soil to clog and to cover, and in course of time our home was ready for us again, and we moved in. Up above us on the surface, the same thing happened. Animals arrived, liked the look of the place, took up their quarters, settled down, spread, and flourished. They didn't bother themselves about the past. They never do. They're too busy. The place was a little bit humpy, hillocky, naturally, full of holes, but that was rather an advantage. And they didn't bother about the future either. The future, when perhaps the people will move in again for a time, as may very well be. Wildwood is pretty well populated by now, with all the usual lot, good, bad, indifferent, I name no names. It takes all sorts to make a world, but I fancy you know something about them yourself by this time.
Oh, I do indeed, said the Mole, with a slight shiver.
Well, well, said the Badger, patting him on the shoulder. It was your first experience of them, you see. They're not so bad, really, and we must all live and let live. But I'll pass the word round tomorrow, and I think you'll have no further trouble. Any friend of mine walks where he likes in this country, or I'll know the reason why.
When they got back to the kitchen again, they found the Rat walking up and down very restless. The underground atmosphere was oppressing him and getting on his nerves, and he seemed really to be afraid that the river would run away if he wasn't there to look after it. So he had his overcoat and his pistols thrust into his belt again. "Come along, Mole," he said anxiously as soon as he caught sight of them. "We must get off while it's daylight. We don't want to spend another night in the wild wood again."
"Oh, it'll be all right, my fine fellow," said the Otter. "I'm coming along with you, and I know every path blindfold, and if there's a head that needs to be punched, you can confidently rely upon me to punch it." "You really needn't fret, Ratty," added the Badger placidly. "My passages run further than you think. I've bolt holes to the edge of the wood in several directions, though I don't care for everybody to know about that. When you really have to go, you shall leave by one of my shortcuts. Meantime, make yourself easy. Sit down again, please."
The Rat was nevertheless still anxious to be off and attend to his river, so the Badger, taking up his lantern again, led the way down a damp and airless tunnel that wound and dipped, part vaulted, part hewn through solid rock, for a weary distance that seemed to be miles. At last daylight began to show itself confusedly through tangled growth overhanging the mouth of the passage, and the Badger, bidding them a hasty goodbye, pushed them hurriedly through the opening, made everything look as natural as possible again with creepers, brushwood and dead leaves, and then retreated. They found themselves standing on the very edge of the wild wood, rocks and brambles and tree roots behind them, confusedly heaped and tangled in front, a great space of quiet fields hemmed by lines of hedges black on the snow, and far ahead a glint of the familiar old river, while the wintry sun hung red and low on the horizon. The Otter, as knowing all the paths, took charge of the party, and they trailed out on a beeline for a distant stile. Pausing there a moment and looking back, they saw the whole mass of the wild wood, dense, menacing, compact, grimly set in vast white surroundings. Simultaneously they turned and made swiftly for home, for firelight and the familiar things it played on, for the voice, sounding cheerily outside of their window, of the river that they knew and trusted in all its moods, that never made them afraid with any amazement. As he hurried along, eagerly anticipating the moment when he would be at home again among the things he knew and liked, the Mole saw clearly that he was an animal of tilled field and hedgerow, linked to the ploughed furrow, the frequented pasture, the lane of evening lingerings, the cultivated garden plot. For others, the asperities, the stubborn endurance, or the clash of actual conflict that went with nature in the rough, he must be wise, must keep to the pleasant places in which his lines were laid, and which held adventure enough in their way to last for a lifetime. That was the end of chapter 4, and tomorrow we'll start chapter 5. I did forget to just say that chapter 5 is Dulce Domum, which I just know off the top of my head is Latin for home sweet home. I didn't just Google it in between pauses there. I did really. So how are you? Are you all okay? Today's, before I even start my jibber jabber, today's episode was dedicated to my friend Mary. So Mary, I hope that all is good. We're with you. We're all here. Our little community, Mary. But yeah, today's for you, Mary. There it is. Look at those special effects just for you. So, again, I haven't got anything exciting to tell you. Put a shelf up today. That's it. That is it. I had a little snooze. Wore myself out by putting a shelf up, apparently. So yeah, that's it. So here's for the next 2 days. So today is Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. Hobbs. That's how the world works. I'm going out. I told you, didn't I, ages ago? I'm going to the city this weekend. I'm going to the city this weekend. And I'm going to go tomorrow afternoon. And I'm going to stay there. And I'm going to come back on Saturday afternoon. All right. So I will record tomorrow and I will record Saturday. But I will record earlier tomorrow. And I will record later on Saturday. All right. So it'll happen. You just got to get with the time and say know which number you're watching. The number, I always put it in the title. I think, is this one number 8 maybe, or 9? I don't know. You'll have to have a look in the title. I'll make sure it's the correct number. So make sure you watch them all. Because so I get, like, it tells me on my app, and I don't know whether I can show you this very easily or not. But here we are. I didn't see that Gorilla had written a comment. Sorry, Gorilla. It was only 12 minutes ago, though. Sorry, it was when I was recording, Gorilla. So here we are. Look, I don't know whether you can see on here, but you can see that last night's episode, 46 views. That one, 26. That one, 60. So people have watched this one, didn't watch this one, and then watched this one. They'll miss out of all of the information that happened in there. So I don't know why that's happening. It's very strange, isn't it? Very strange. But there you go. Gorilla, I saw your comment just then. Why don't the raised rats have swords? They do, don't they? I'm sure they have swords. The raised rats, as in Garth Nick's book, not as in Wind of the Willows. But I'm sure they have little, like, don't they have, like, rapiers? Or something? I'm sure they do. Because they're seafaring, like little ratty pirates, aren't they? Sure they do. Anyway, there we go. All right, so I'll see you a little bit earlier tomorrow. Okay, love you lots. Mary. See you soon. Bye.